Hello and welcome. Today we are going to talk about whether you should buy pre-made soundproof windows or build your own. In my own home studio, I decided to build my own windows, and I'm very happy with my results. As you can see here, I have 5 little windows high up on my walls that bring in some light and don't let in noise, and they work great. So if you want to learn more about how to build your own windows, I have another YouTube video. You can check that out in the little link above me here or down in the description. But in this video, I really want to talk more about the pros of building your own and the pros of buying pre-made ones. We're going to talk about the cost difference between buying your own windows and building your own windows. And I'll give you a conclusion of what I think is best and give you some options for maybe thinking through your own project. Before we jump in, I want to say that I do have a free resource for you that is my soundproofing budget calculator. So if you are in the process of trying to figure out how to build your soundproof room, then this calculator will help you get an idea of exactly how much that is going to cost. This is built off my own building costs that I did, and it even accounts for inflation and the rise in cost of materials over the last couple of years. So if you want to download that free soundproofing budget calculator, go to soundproofyourstudio.com/calculator. That's soundproofyourstudio.com/calculator. All right, let's jump into the lesson. So to start with, let's talk about the cost of building your own soundproof windows. In my experience, the cost was $366.56 per square foot. Now, if you're not in the US and using the imperial system, then that cost would be $33.70 per square meter. So this is a very important number because you can use this to extrapolate and figure out how much your windows are going to cost in your studio. So if you're using the budget calculator, you can just type in the square footage of your windows and it will automatically plop out the cost of those windows. Or you can just multiply that and get your idea. So for example, let's say that you have a 3-foot by 5-foot control room window. You know, this is a fairly good size window. You might want to go a little smaller, you might want to go a little bit bigger, but let's just say you have a 3-foot by 5-foot window. According to my cost for building windows by yourself, DIY, your total cost would be $5,498.40. That's a good chunk of change right there. This is one of the main reasons I chose to use smaller windows in my studio, and I ended up spending much less than that on my own windows. But again, if you have a control room and you want to build your own control room window, then that is probably about the amount you're going to spend on materials and cost, and you might even have to add in a little bit more money for labor. Now, let's talk about the cost of buying prefabricated or pre-built soundproof windows from a soundproofing window supplier. So I did a little bit of research and I reached out to 2 companies that got back to me about how much their soundproof windows will cost. The first one was a company called Acoustical Solutions, and they just sent me a quick email saying that the smallest window they could make is a 1-foot by 1-foot window, and it would cost a whopping $2,648.92 plus shipping for a 1-foot by 1-foot window. So as you can see, that is extremely expensive relative to building it yourself. Now, to compare, I also had a wonderful conversation with one of the representatives at Soundproof Windows Incorporated, and I really like this company just from talking with Jeff, their sales manager. He was wonderful and awesome. I will say, before I say these numbers, that he was driving in his car and he was kind of throwing numbers off the top of his head, so I'm not totally sure how accurate these numbers are, but I'm going to throw them out there anyways. So for a 3-foot by 5-foot control room window, he told me that each pane of glass would be $1,400 for a total of $2,800 plus shipping, which is way less than the cost of doing it yourself. So this is why I'm a little skeptical that maybe the numbers were a little off, but it's worth doing some research and maybe calling them up to double check that and see if you can get a great deal. Now, for other window suppliers, I think you're going to be more in the range of the original quote that I said, which is very, very expensive. Now, one of the other things I want to say before we move on to the next segment of this video is that Soundproof Windows Incorporated has a very unique product where they'll actually install a window over your existing windows in your home. So the typical 3-foot by 5-foot window in your home, if you are building a studio with windows in it already, they can come in and create an operable window, meaning that you could open this soundproof window, which is something I've never heard of, which I think is a great opportunity. They say the operable window will get an STC of 50, which is still really good for most home recording studios. And if it's non-operable, it'll be an STC of 57. And again, they have their whole system for putting in glass over top of the window and creating a little bit of an airspace in that natural air gap of your existing window already. So that's another thing that I would reach out to them about. I'll have a link to their company in the description below. Again, no affiliates with these people. I'm not getting any money from them. This is just my own research that I've done. Now let's talk about the pros of building your own soundproof window. So I think the biggest pro is that it's going to be cheaper. I think overall, unless you get that great deal like I was talking about with the $2,800 window from Soundproof Windows Incorporated, I think in general, soundproof windows, when they are pre-made and sent to you from the factory, are going to be a lot more money, and the installation cost might also be higher. So that is one of the main differences. I would also say that when you do it yourself, there is a ease of use with customizing it exactly to your studio. For example, when we were building my studio, we just decided as we were building the structure to add 2 more windows. And I think that if you're ordering from a soundproof supplier, it could be harder to move that quickly and be that flexible in your design. Plus, certain suppliers might not have the exact dimensions of the window that you want, in which case it's probably better to build the window yourself. Now I want to say the pros of buying a pre-made or prefabricated window is that you know that it's going to function properly. So a lot of these companies, especially I know Soundproof Windows Incorporated, have lab tests that prove that their windows have been tested and have these STC ratings that they are advertising. So when you build your own soundproof window, if you use my method, like I will teach you in the YouTube video I mentioned earlier, I just know that it works, but I have never lab tested this design in a lab, so I can't say that it has a specific STC rating. So that is sort of the toss-up between buying your own and building your own. Again, too, if you're interested in STC ratings, I have another video that you can check out in the link above me here or in the description below that will teach you more about STC ratings and why they are sometimes actually misleading. Another pro to buying soundproof windows that are pre-made is that idea that you can have an operable window. There's no way that I know that you can DIY a soundproof window that is still something you could open. And I think that's great. I also like the idea that Soundproof Windows Incorporated can build those windows over your existing windows in your house. Now, you could also build your own windows over your existing windows by installing a pane of tempered or laminate glass into that area, and I think that you would greatly increase the soundproofing of your window, and it might still cost less. So keep that in mind, but this is a company that could help you out with that and potentially do it for a fairly good price. I think that price was around $1,050 for the window over your existing windows. All right, so in conclusion, what do I think? I think overall that building your own windows DIY style is still probably the best method. I think that if you want to have an operable window, then definitely buy from a company like Soundproofing Windows Incorporated because they have that product and I don't know how to do that DIY. I think overall, make sure to do your own research, use my research as a rough guide, get on the phone with some of the sales reps for these soundproof window companies, reach out to 2 or 3, and remember to use that baseline that I mentioned before of the $366 per square foot as a guide to roughly gauge, is it going to be easier and cheaper to do it myself, or should I buy the prefabricated windows? I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope that this helps you with building your soundproof windows, or if you're buying the soundproof windows. Again, if you want to know what the budget of your entire soundproof studio is going to be, check out my free soundproofing calculator. It is an amazing template, a Google Drive Sheets file that you can download and use and input your own square footage and figure out the cost of your studio. To get that free download, just go to soundproofyourstudio.com/calculator. Thanks so much for watching. If you're on the podcast, thanks for listening. And I will see you next Monday, same time, same place. And we'll have some more soundproofing videos for you. All right, see you later.